Well, Glennon Doyle, thank you so much for being on Hustlers at Home. I have to say, I am, as a writer, as a mother, as an activist, you are such an inspiration. And in those three categories, you are goals for me. So thank you for being such an example. Really, when I read Love Warrior, and then, well, actually, when I was reading Untamed, I read before I go to bed, and I was getting so hyped reading the book. I was like, I can't actually read this sitting down. So then I downloaded the audio version and I listened to it on my runs.
Oh, great. Good. So it's not a put you to sleep book. That's,
well, I can
that's
feel
good.
my adrenaline.
I love it.
So thank you. For folks who might just be getting acquainted, Glennon is the author of the #1 New York Times bestseller, Untamed. And it is such a testimony to how we can live unapologetically. You were clearly pulled to write I mean, you couldn't not write this book, but do you want to speak on on that?
I think so. I think maybe every once in a while for an artist, there's just like one thing that is everything that's been on the tip of your tongue, you know? I think that Untamed is what I was made to write. I do. And, you know, every once in a while somebody says, so what's next? And I'm like, that's it. Like, I don't know any other things.
Do I owe you anything else?
It's not like I saved up anything else that I know. Like, it's all there.
Well, no, I know. I guess that's the plight of an artist or of a creator. It's like, I hope you're giving yourself credit for this moment, because the ambition then starts to be like, what else do you have to prove? And it's like, let's just live in this.
Agreed. Success. Life is hard. The whole what's next question is so stressful. Like, we did a thing. Let's just rest in it and be happy about it until we move on to the next thing, right? Agreed.
So you're in Untamed, you have a chapter called Racism. Mm-hmm. And it was, I mean, not that this conversation has been timely for centuries, but it really is speaking to what we are living, as a collective consciousness awakening. What do you, and you talk about missteps that you've made in your fight for justice. Can you speak about that? Because I think hearing folks we admire speak about their stumbles, especially on things as sensitive as a race conversation, empower us to say, okay, I'm going to mess up and I can just keep going. So can you speak about that?
Yeah. Whew. I've kind of begun to think of it completely differently. I think that what we discover after spending any time showing up for anti-racism work, or, work with the LGBTQ community, or for that matter, working with, I do a lot with mental health because I've struggled with depression and anxiety my whole life. So, speaking into the mental health world, we reach this point where we realize there is no monolith inside of any of those places, right? So you can't really show up for anti-racism and make everybody happy.
Yes.
Right? You can't show up for the mental health world and speak and make everybody happy, because those communities are made up of all different kinds of brilliant people who have all different kind of approaches to what works in terms of anti-racism work. So, for example, as a white woman, if I speak about racism, automatically that will be a valid, people will have criticism about that. Valid criticism, right? Because there are different ideas about how white women should show up for racism. One of them is, do not speak about it. This is not your lane. Point to women of color who've been doing this work forever, and that's it, right? And then there's another side that says, no, white women, use your voices, use your platforms. Don't leave all of that work to women of color, right? We've been doing that work for centuries. We need white women to step up. So first of all, I remember one of the first actions that I was involved with, I don't know, I said some stupid shit, and lots of people got mad at me, and I spent a couple days in the fetal position, and cried a lot of white women tears, did the whole thing, and I called one of my dear friends, And I said, I did the thing and everyone's mad at me. And my friend Austin, who's been in anti-racism work forever, she's a brilliant Black woman. And she said,
Yes, I follow her.
She said, what's the problem? There's no problem. Like you just did it. This is what all of us have been dealing with forever. You say the thing and people get mad at you. So what? Like, buck up, buttercup. What do? You do it again and you do it better. You learn more. You take your correction. But you don't embrace the privilege of like, oh, everyone's mad at me, so I'm just not going to do that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right. I mean, sorry, but I just want to reference something that you say in your book, really addressing kind of this binary need or perception that we're good or bad, that and that the layered like beauty of what you're describing we almost have to develop a literacy and a language around all the ways that we can be a work in progress and a masterpiece.
Yeah, my friend Sophia says that all the time. And it's
yes.
like, it's building up a resilience to it too. And it's also this idea that I am learning, it was part of my training inside of white supremacy and patriarchy, which is that my job is to be liked, right? My job is to be a sweet, good girl and to not ruffle any feathers and to make everybody pleased. So it's like part of white women speaking and then being corrected and not being right and not being celebrated and not being is part of our untraining, right? That's all part of it. It's like I feel like right now my job is to just find as many ways to just betray white supremacy and patriarchy as possible. Just to be a betrayer, like a constant betrayer of that, you know? And it looks so different in so many ways, you know? It's like, it's one thing to speak out in these moments and to do podcasts. And it's another thing to like, I live in a very Trumpy town. Okay. We say we know the one other gay woman who lives here and she lives with me in my town. Okay?
I did not think that's what you were going to say.
Yeah. Like,
right. So it's just a town of two beautiful lesbian women. Okay. Got it. Understood.
And there's a lot of this like insidious dog whistling that goes on at the bus stops and at the soccer games. And it's like, it's what people say, you know what people say? They just like, oh, your kids go to what school? Why? Like, it's just these little things that are, and if I'm loyal to the white supremacist patriarchy that I'm a part of, I entertain that. I just like try to make it through the conversation. I just change the conversation. I just, you know, and if I'm betraying that, then I turn and say, wait, what do you mean by that? Like, can we just unpack, wait, like, do you mean that because there's lots of Black people that go to my kids' school? Because that's what they're saying, right? Like,
right.
So it's just part of my work is just to constantly be thinking, what part of my training is keeping me quiet right now? And like, and also as someone who was raised to be sort of at the pinnacle of white womanhood, like I just joined the gay community like yesterday, okay? Like most of my life, I had all the privilege and status that comes from being in a hetero relationship, that comes from being white, that comes from being from a middle-class family, that comes from being a Christian in the predominant religion. I was trained to be entitled, right? Like my whole life has been not being the marginalized one. So now as I enter, especially as the overlap into the LGBTQ community, I am bringing all of my Karen-ness to this situation, right? Like I have been trained to, which actually if we could train, I think of it in terms of like, I need to use all of my training, but turn on my trainers.
Yep.
Right?
Yes.
So it's fascinating. It doesn't feel like something that I'm learning to do online. Like that I'm learning to say the right words. It feels like something that is a constant, hourly, everywhere I am, examining how was I trained to behave in this situation and how do I flip that?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, paradigm shift. I mean, what the beauty of your work is that you are activating entire armies of people and giving them permission to do it in small, subtle, quiet, introverted, or big ways,
Yeah.
right? So the battle is required on all those fronts. And what your work, how I perceive your work, is permission to make waves, even if your waves are small, and especially if your waves are big, but even if your waves are small, and they're just gonna have to learn how to swim. Like they're just going to have to learn how to swim.
Yeah, that's right. And you're just gonna feel like you're treading water sometimes, and you kind of like can't catch your breath, and like, but that's because that's the deep end, right? In the shallow end, everybody can stand and look pretty. And the people right now in this moment who are in the deep end are not the ones who are coming out unscathed, right? They're the ones who look like they're flailing, who can't catch their breath, who are trying and going under and trying again. It's like, it's messy.
It is. You've written about and posted recently on social media about how you're addressing this with your kids. For any parents watching, I mean, can you speak to your experience about that? And specifically parenting in the Black Lives Matter conversation for white parents.
Yeah, I mean, I feel lucky in the fact that we have been openly talking to our children about the racist world that they live in. I would say for about 6 years, maybe. It started for me when, you know, I guess the way I would say it is we've always talked to our children about history. Like we taught them history.
Yes.
But we didn't help them decipher how the worlds that they swim in, how their school and their teams and their media and every experience that they have continues to be infused with racism, right? So a while ago, I was looking through a picture book of the civil rights movement and Martin Luther King Jr.'s marches and teaching them history. And one of my little girls saw a white woman in the crowd of marchers. And her face lit up and she pointed to her and she said, "Mommy, look." And I said, "Yeah." And she said, would we have been marching with them? And I opened my mouth to say, yes, of course we would have, right? And then my older daughter jumped in and said, "Oh no, Emma, we wouldn't have been marching with them then. I mean, we're not marching with them now."
From the mouths of babes. It's just a reflection of your own value system. Yikes. Yeah.
So sister, here I was thinking, yes, I actually thought of myself as, I don't know, a civil rights activist, even though I had never done shit. Like, this is what, and then that night I was reading, then I just started reading and reading and reading, because that's what I do when I don't know what to do, right? And I actually do believe that that's an important part of this process, that like, one of the crucial parts of any kind of this work, whether it's in the LGBT community, the race, all of it, the disability, is that all of this work has to be like a glacier and 80% of it has to be underwater. Like it has to be the work you're doing to like listen and learn and read and experience the world you're living in through somebody else's eyes, right? Because that begins to change your insides, and that is how you show up different. Yes. Right? So you always know the people who are showing up before they're doing any of that underground work, because they just just all wrong, right? So that, you know, pretty close to that time is when I read the letters from the Birmingham jail that talked about being a white moderate.
Yep.
Right. And about how being a white moderate is, you know, I think he said that the greatest stumbling block to racial justice is not the Ku Klux Klanman. It's the white moderate who is more committed to order than to justice. Right. So that's when I figured out, oh, that's what I am. That's what I am. I'm a white moderate. White moderate is all of us who think I'm a nice person, so I'm on the side of justice. And that's never how this has worked, right? The people who are on the side of justice are the people who are making big noise and taking risks and, you know, using their privilege in all kinds of ways. So, so anyway, that was sort of the turning point when I figured out, oh, I need to train my kids completely differently than this. And so basically it's just like analyzing everything that's said. It's pointing at media all the time and saying, what are they trying to tell you about what it means to be a Black woman or a Black man? Or, by the way, a woman or a gay person or a disabled person, right? It's like teaching your children to be not just consumers of media, but to be skeptical of all of it.
Yes, it's a different kind of literacy. It's like if kids know more about Instagram filters than they even do about like understanding the filter with which we're absorbing all of it. That's such
not
a
taking
critical
media
piece.
as truth, right? Understanding that for every story told, there's a storyteller, and for every storyteller, there's an angle, there's an intention, like being able to read something or see something and say, who wrote that? Why did they write that? And what are they trying to get me to believe? Right? That's just something that we all have to do, especially right now. We see the effects of all the sides just swallowing the messages that are given to them, pretending that there's no truth. Right? So I think one of the ways is just, and I think about that in terms of misogyny too, like all of it. I was a kid who became really sick really young because of mental health stuff paired with the poison that was given to me through media about what a woman should be. Right? Which to me, I understood to be small and beautiful and quiet and accommodating and happy and grateful. And those messages made me very sick because the problem is that women are fully human, right? If only that weren't true, the patriarchy would have such an easier time.
Yeah.
So when I was little, I looked at the messages about women and thought, oh, but I am angry and I am hungry and I am fearful and I am ambitious and so there must be something wrong with me.
Yep.
And so I want my little girls to look at all of those messages and say, oh, there's something wrong with that. Not there's something wrong with me. Right?
Yes.
Which means that my girls, sometimes I think you can either raise in a profoundly misogynistic culture, and we could say a profoundly racist culture too. You either raise kids who are racist and sick, or you raise kids who are anti-racists and little girls who are angry instead of sick. Right? So I have two little girls who are pretty pissed. And I celebrate it. Right?
Let the ground shake with their power and their feelings and how they emote, because we have to become, we have to, I mean, we're doing better, but it does take they're like micro revolutions at the bus stop when the neighbor says the thing and you're just like, I'm just gonna go along to get along. Yes. And then you make the excuse. I mean, I just did it the other day. Overhearing something in a bodega, and I'm like, oh, but she's old. And I'm like, this is the stuff. This is the bullshit. this is the stuff that we need to start extinguishing. Ugh.
And I think, don't you think it's one of the reasons is because we have been trained not to rock the boat. We have been trained, especially as girls, as young girls and women, that our job is to not cause outer conflict. Right? We're just like peacekeepers, just like, oh, is everybody okay? Like, are you happy? Is he happy? Is she happy? I mean, the amount of stupid ass male jokes I have laughed at my
And I know you hate small talk. I hate like the dinner party, like the clink clink, like I cannot. So as an introvert, I know, a fellow introvert, I know that ravages you. And then to add a layer of misogyny on top of it, you're like
all evening, like, how can I keep this misogyny safe? How can I giggle enough, smile enough to make everybody comfortable and make it through the night? And I think like what we have figured out over time is that we are always choosing inner conflict over outer conflict. Because every time we swallow it, every time we giggle, every time we say, oh, she's just, we might not be causing outer conflict, but instead we're choosing the inner one, right? Of like, there I go again. I didn't do the thing. I didn't say the thing. I didn't. And so there's a price to pay either way.
Yeah.
Right? And so I just feel like in this moment more than ever, we are learning that people of conscious, like the price to pay for not rocking the boat is way too high. Right? The price to pay for, I will be a peacekeeper instead of a peacemaker. Two different things. Right? A peacekeeper is trying to like make all of those nastinesses comfortable. And a peacekeeper is saying the hard thing, making things awkward. I'm sorry, a peacemaker is making the things awkward, saying the thing so that then we can get to real peace instead of accommodating this false peace that costs people their lives, like entertaining misogyny, homophobia, racism, entertaining all of that on any level has a direct correlation with people's lives. You know, it's life or death right now.
Yes. The critical nature. I mean, yeah, I could have really talked to you all day. I have so many questions for you, but I do want to use these last few moments to talk about
last
Abby
few moments.
I want to be respectful of your time.
Oh, you're so sweet.
But part of what you write about in Untamed is your beautiful relationship with your wife Abby, and I suspect there may be folks watching who are unfulfilled or feeling trapped and are seekers. I believe right now we are tapping into the frequency of seekers. So what would you say to the woman or the person, the human who is on the precipice of their untamed moment, whether it's romantic or not?
Okay. I think one of the secrets to the catalyst of freeing yourself is honoring your discontent. Okay. So I think that we have this little thing inside of us. I know I had it, which is this like longing, this like, oh, isn't it supposed to be more beautiful than this? Like, isn't this relationship supposed to be more beautiful? Isn't my parenting, isn't my job, isn't my community, wasn't it all supposed to be more beautiful than this? It's this knowing, right? This ache, this longing. We are trained to suppress that, to label that as not being grateful enough. God help us if we're not just grateful for what we have, right? If we can imagine more or we long for more, we assume that means we're just not grateful enough, instead of assuming that might mean we were made for more, right? So what I notice about every woman who eventually demands more is that it is someone who did not ignore, deny, deflect, or suppress her discontent. She honored it as a guide, right? And first of all, within your relationships, this doesn't mean that everyone needs to leave their husband and marry a female Olympian, although I highly recommend it.
Highly recommend.
Highly. Most of my friends, I'll tell you this, most of my friends have discontent in their relationships. And most of them want a new relationship with the same person. Most of them are they're not ready to get out, but they are ready to honor what they need and want and prefer inside of their relationship. They're just scared of saying that I want more and I need more and I expect more because of this training, right? And so what I think would be unbelievably beautiful is for, you know, these questions that I always ask people, like, what is the truest, most beautiful relationship you can imagine? Just write it down, right? Because when you use words like what should you do or what can or can't, all these activate your indoctrination. But when you use the words what is true and beautiful, that activates your imagination, right? Mm. And we find out that every single one of us has a different answer to that. The truest, most beautiful marriage I can imagine, the truest, most beautiful job I can imagine. And what we figure out is when we write those things down, we have our marching orders, right?
And the process, do you believe the written process is critical to that piece?
I do, and I don't know if that's just because I'm a writer, but I kind of feel like to me, it's like an architect. Okay, an architect doesn't like dream up a building and then build it. I don't know much about architecture, but I feel like that's not the thing.
That's how it goes down.
Okay.
Yes, that's not the thing.
Right. Or like fashion-y people, I watch Project Runway, okay? They think of the thing and then they draw it. It's like, I think that the truest, most beautiful thing has to come to life one dimension at a time, right? So I do feel like there's worthy, and also it's too scary to say it out loud right away. Like, how many times have you gone to somebody and said, here's what I need, and then you like devolve into tears, and then it like just, you gotta be ready. So I think like every time that I have untamed myself, I've had to have a reckoning with myself before I've had the reckoning with the other, right? It's like the writing of it, the putting it down is your self-reckoning. It's like, yeah, this is the truth. You have to own it first before you can bring it to anybody else in your world.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it sounds like I used to be a lawyer and then I transitioned into wellness. And the critical question I asked myself was, why not me? Like, why can't I be the one inserted into that story? And that's a question we can all ask ourselves is, why can't I be the best, you know, anti-racist parent? Why can't I, for my family? Why can't I be, you know, someone to dismantle the patriarchy? Why not? Why can't we be those folks?
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh. What is the best part of your relationship with Abby?
I've just never been loved so completely for all of the things. Like I think that I've always had this, I don't know if it's like a shame fear or something that mine would be that I'm too much, right? Mm-hmm. That I have just all these big feelings and big ideas and it's just, and I overreact and there's no conclusion that I will not jump to in the first second. And it's a lot. Okay. And so to have somebody, so I've just always been trying to like, I've always thought of that as just a little bit of a weakness that I have to control, that I have to blah, blah, blah. And sometimes it is. But to have somebody who actually the things that you are worried about yourself. Hi, baby. She just brought me a smoothie. Loving you not in spite of those things, but for those things.
Oh my God, a cameo by Abby. Hi, I'm Robin Arzón from Peloton.
she's even more sporty spice than you are.
It's so exciting.
Oh, she's answering a beautiful question about what is the best part of your marriage, your relationship.
Oh. I just think it's being completely loved for all of the parts of yourself that you actually thought were weaknesses, and then your partner sees them as your magic.
Totally.
You think?
Yeah, we're huge Peloton lovers. I'm when we finally move and get a new home gym, I'm definitely getting the tread. So.
Oh my God! Well, I look forward to running with you. It'll be my honor.
In the Peloton app, I've just downloaded it. My friends told me I have to go use it, so I'm excited.
Okay, well, we're talking about healing.
Awesome.
Right. I'm not. Bye.
Yeah. Bye, Abby. Abby takes it to Sporty Spice Land, and you're like, but I want to emote.
Treads? What on earth?
Oh my gosh. Well, listen, I am so grateful that you took the time to speak with me today. Of course, folks need to read your book, Untamed. where else can folks find you if they're not yet part of your magical orbit?
Well, you need to come to Instagram, Glennon Doyle on Instagram, and Together Rising is my nonprofit on Instagram. I think Instagram's the best. I'm on Twitter too, but I don't understand it, so I'm really bad at it. Instagram's my jam. I always tweet the wrong people, and it's just a mess. Just yeah.
Well, we'll continue the conversation on Instagram. And I have to say, I mean, what you're doing right now, you are the revolutionary. You know, from that conversation with your kids, reading that picture book about MLK, I am one of your followers. You have inspired me to action, and I'm forever grateful. So thank you, Glennon, for being here.
You are just wonderful. Call me back soon.
Thank you. Be well.
Bye, love.
Really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Glennon. And I look forward to seeing y'all on or maybe no pressure for you, but I look forward to seeing Abby on the trek.
Oh, she'll be there. I'll be cheering her from the side.
Amazing. Bye.